The Caspian is flanked to the west by the mighty Caucasus Mountains. Standing almost 6,000 meters tall and over 1,000 kilometers long, they divide the countries of the Middle East from their Russian neighbors to the north. These mountains were formed over 5.5 million years ago, when the Arabian and Eurasian continental plates collided, forcing the Earth skywards. Bitterly cold winter temperatures drop below minus 30 degrees centigrade, putting survival skills to the ultimate test. At first glance, these colossal peaks may appear uninhabited, but they provide a refuge for a secretive group of mammals that have adapted to endure the long frozen winters. Once critically endangered, a rare and elusive predator has made a surprising comeback. With a population of just 700 in the 1950s, numbers have grown tenfold over the last 60 years. The Eurasian lynx shies away from open areas in favor of dense tree cover. Making the forests of the Caucasus an ideal home. This female is on the prowl. Her large, round, padded paws act like snowshoes, her toes spreading out to distribute her weight. Combined with short, powerful legs, she travels with ease across the treacherous snowfields. Her 4 kittens were born in May and won't survive their first winter without her. She'll raise them until they're 10 months old, at which point they'll become independent and strike out on their own. In the depths of winter, food is scarce, and the cubs' appetites are growing as fast as they are. There's time to play now, but it won't be long before they're hungry again. Their mother works tirelessly to find food. And without leaves on the trees or vegetation for cover, staying hidden whilst hunting will require all her skill and cunning, especially with other predators on the prowl. Whilst the lynx is a solitary hunter, grey wolves are highly social pack animals with an aggressively regimented pecking order. Numbering anywhere from 2 to 36, pack size depends on their habitat and the availability of prey. As well equipped for winter as the lynx, grey wolves have a dense under-fur layer that provides good insulation against the cold. Where their territories overlap, lynx and wolves tend towards different prey. Wolves will take down larger mammals like deer, leaving the lynx with smaller pickings like rodents and hares. But the scent of a fresh kill is sometimes too tempting. Rank within the pack hierarchy dictates who eats first. The alpha male makes sure everyone knows he's in charge. With hungry kittens to feed, the lynx lies in wait, unseen and unheard. But these wolves have nothing to fear from their feline spy. She has her mind set on another prize. A white winter coat is the perfect camouflage for a mountain hare, betrayed only by the black tips on its ears. On the move, he's easy to spot, but when lying perfectly still, concealed in the snow, blink and you'd miss him. Maintaining the element of surprise is crucial for a lynx. Not as swift as some of her feline relatives, lynx prefer to stalk their prey rather than waste energy on long chases. On the flat, the lynx could hit a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour. But across this rugged hillside, the hare could easily outrun her. She relies on a combination of razor-sharp eyesight and superb hearing, picking up sound vibrations with the help of the tufts on her ears. Timing is crucial. This is big cat country, and with hungry mouths to feed, there can be only one outcome. It's early April, and the long Caspian winter has run its course. As the ice thaws, meltwater carves channels through the snow. A trickle at first, it soon becomes a stream, flowing into some of 130 tributaries, which feed the Caspian. The largest of these is the mighty Volga. Flowing more than 3,000 kilometers from the north, deep inside Russia. The river divides into hundreds of channels as it enters the northern edge of the Caspian. Huge quantities of nourishing sediment are deposited, forming an immense delta, 200 kilometers wide. The River Volga is truly the architect of this fertile landscape. The annual flooding of these wetlands creates a secluded haven for a wide variety of wildlife. The Volga contributes 80% of the Caspian's riverine inflow. Whilst known as a sea, it's technically a giant lake, as it has no natural outflows. Unlike most lakes, its water is not fresh, but brackish, and used to be as salty as the open seas it was once a part of. Today, rivers dilute its waters to such an extent that the salinity is on average 2/3 less than oceanic water. These unique conditions allow saltwater species to exist, as well as freshwater animals and plants. And the reeds growing on its banks provide perfect nesting grounds for spring visitors, such as pendulum tits. These tiny, unassuming-looking birds are more cunning than they might appear. A master architect is building his hanging sanctuary at the water's edge. Woven from animal hair and soft plant matter, his nursery will take around 3 weeks to complete. A ring of twisted fibers forms the foundations and bears the weight of the nest. Halfway through, it resembles a hanging basket. Ten days later, his nest is complete and surprisingly secure, hanging over the water from a single twig. Sufficiently impressed by his building skills, a female allows him to mate. But once safely inside, she devises an elaborate deception. She creates a hidden cradle in the lining of the nest and conceals her eggs one by one. The crafty female leads the male to believe she has yet to lay, so he won't abandon her. She then uncovers the eggs and flees the nest, leaving him to discover her clutch and fulfill his paternal duties alone. Hanging 5 meters from the ground, hopefully their home will be safe from the prowling threat below. The nest has caught the attention of another covert cat. With tufted ears and short tail, the jungle cat is slightly smaller than the lynx. And it's more closely related to the domestic cat. These were some of the first cats ever domesticated, and were even found mummified with the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. A four-legged solution to an ancient rodent problem. Tantalizingly close, the hanging buffet is just out of reach. Despite their name, jungle cats don't usually live in jungles. They're found throughout the Middle East and prefer grasslands and the dense cover of reeds near the water's edge. Rodents are their usual prey, but this hunter has his eye on a different quarry, a ground-nesting bird. A lucky escape. It seems quail isn't on the menu today after all. Through a maze of shallows and concealed channels, this flooded landscape provides the setting for a secluded spawning. As evening approaches, a raucous chorus shatters the peace. Amorous male marsh frogs croak their hearts out to attract egg-laden mates. They're the largest frogs in Europe, and females can measure up to 17 centimeters long. Each clutch of eggs can be over 1,000 strong. These fertile wetlands make perfect marsh frog spawning grounds. Spawn become tadpoles within 10 days. But many don't live much longer. Great diving beetles hunt in the shallows, and tadpoles are a favorite prey. The beetle's larva may look different, but lacks none of its parents' killer instinct. And it isn't only tadpoles that are in danger. A lack of teeth won't prevent this hungry bug from feeding. It uses hollow fangs to inject its prey with a corrosive toxin, dissolving the fish's flesh. The beetle sucks out the fluid remains, leaving nothing behind but a hollow shell. Beyond the maze of channels and lagoons, shallow water, barely a meter deep, extends into the Caspian for 50 kilometers. These shallows then give way to deeper waters, which stretch over 1,000 kilometers to northern Iran. Marine fish like herring dominate the central and southern sections of the Caspian. where the salinity is about a third of the open ocean. And they attract the attention of the Caspian Sea's top predator. Seals have been hauling out on sandbanks in the Caspian for over 1 million years. The Caspian seal is descended from a common ancestor, the Arctic ringed seal. It's thought that the waters of the Arctic and Caspian were once connected, allowing free passage for seals to move easily from north to south. They are the only mammals living here. So, whilst their Arctic cousins are often preyed upon, Caspian seals have become unlikely apex predators. Without the presence of sharks, whales, or other threats in the enclosed sea, they can relax, safe and unchallenged, at the top of the food chain. Their biggest concern is stopping seabirds from stealing their fish. Sharing these islands are Caspian terns. Despite their name, Caspian terns are found all over the world, flocking in their thousands to remote islands in the Caspian to breed. The stage is set for a feeding frenzy. Herrings provide vital protein, but competition is fierce. Despite being too big for one chick to eat, there's still a raging tug of war over dinner. Its neighbor dwarfs the chick, even though Caspian seals are one of the smallest species in the world, at around 1 meter long. Despite the odd play fight and competition for fish, the seals live in harmony with the island's seabirds. Most of the time. But how did some marine species come to live in the enclosed Caspian Sea? Currently lying 27 meters below sea level, and with no access for ocean predators, some ancient species have been relatively undisturbed for millions of years. There are 6 known species of the sturgeon family in the Caspian, including the best known, Russian and beluga. Sturgeon are the sole survivors of an ancient group of fish whose ancestors lived around 200 million years ago. They've changed little since the time of the dinosaurs, earning them the title living fossils. Nowadays, more than 90% of the world's stocks of caviar-rich sturgeon are concentrated in the Caspian, surviving thanks to unique circumstances and skills. Using whisker-like barbels to detect crustaceans, it extends its toothless, siphon-like mouth to suck food from the bottom of the sea. Despite growing up to 5 meters long, And being able to swallow other fish whole, sturgeon also feed on the billions of plankton found on the seabed. And plankton have a vital part to play in the ecology of the region. Over millions of years, decaying microorganisms form sedimentary deposits, creating some of the largest reserves of fossil fuels on the planet. The Caspian region holds approximately 8 trillion cubic meters of natural gas and around 48 billion barrels of oil. The most spectacular proof of the fossil fuels lying beneath the Caspian can be found in the coastal regions of Azerbaijan. Natural gas wells up from thousands of meters below and erupts, creating huge mud flows from deep below the Earth's crust. Of the world's 800 mud volcanoes, half are found near the shores of the Caspian. And they provide unlikely places to forage. In search of a drink to quench its thirst, a muddy puddle is more than this spur-thighed tortoise bargained for. Not very good at swimming, their ratio of lung size to body weight helped some species of tortoise to float, allowing this clumsy reptile the chance to clamber to safety. The rugged terrain of the Caspian's western shores gives way to vast swathes of steppe to the north. This is the Caspian Depression, a vast arid grassland that receives just 30 centimeters of rain per year. But in early May, water from the winter thaw brings life back to the dusty steppe. For a brief moment in spring, an explosion of crimson transforms the stark landscape as poppies burst into bloom. They're in a race against time with the relentless sun, taking just 10 days from flower to seed before withering away. But one furry inhabitant makes the most of the mass flowering. Great gerbils are 3 times bigger than the ones kept as pets. Accomplished excavators, they inhabit a labyrinth of underground tunnels. An area the size of a football pitch can easily accommodate up to 3,000 burrows. Poppies are a great gerbil's favorite food, and in return, their nutrient-rich droppings help create a fertile seedbed. The flowers will be gone in less than 2 weeks, so a female quickly harvests the crop. Preserving it in the cool humidity of an underground larder. Great gerbil families live in giant catacombs with separate chambers for storing food, 3 kilometers of tunnels, and hidden nurseries, secret bunkers where this mother can nurse her young. a prolific breeder. Her first will be born in February. By June, she will have produced 2 more litters, with a dozen pups in each. Back above ground, nomadic herds are making the seasonal migration from winter pastures in the southern deserts to their summer feeding grounds on the grassy northern steppes of Kazakhstan. These are saiga antelope, which have roamed these wilds since the last ice age. Forever on the move, saiga can cover up to 115 kilometers in a single day. A large head and a huge bulbous nose hanging over its mouth are the hallmarks of this bizarre-looking creature. But this peculiar adaptation has evolved for good reason. Its nose helps filter out dust during summer migrations and enables cold winter air to be warmed before reaching its lungs. Females that have been gestating since the autumn rut and managed to survive the harsh winter are about to give birth. Usually bearing 2 calves, all the mothers within the herd will give birth within a week of each other. Once the calves are a few days old, the herd breaks into smaller groups which travel north to their summer feeding grounds. Every successful birth is critical to the survival of the species. Just 20 years ago, here on the plains of Kazakhstan, saiga antelope numbered over 1 million. Today, the population has fallen to less than 250,000, mainly due to illegal poaching. Saiga males are hunted for their horns, a key ingredient in some traditional Chinese medicines. Just a few minutes old, a newborn struggles to its feet. The imperative to suckle is its strongest instinct. But first, it must master the tricky art of walking. Sadly, not all saiga females will survive labor. Fortunately, an orphaned calf can survive by being nursed by an unrelated female. Scavengers cast dark silhouettes above. For the less fortunate saiga, hungry vultures ensure that they haven't died in vain. One of the largest flying birds on Earth, the Cinereus or Eurasian black vulture, weighs in at over 14 kilograms and has a wingspan of over 3 meters. They're so big, they could easily wrap their wings around an adult human. Like a pair of boxers squaring up before a fight, the 2 males size each other up. And then battle begins. The golden jackal hopes to grab some of the spoils, but is put firmly in its place. In Kazakhstan, the numbers of all vulture species are in steep decline, mainly due to the reduction of their major food source, the saiga antelope. Little is known about the mating system of black vultures, but they're thought to be monogamous. Once they find a mate, they stay together their entire lives. Much time and energy is invested rearing a single chick each year. Their every need will be met for around 6 months. And even once the chicks have fledged, they still return home for food for several months afterwards. A flat-topped pistachio tree is the perfect platform for a vulture's nest. After a successful scavenging trip, the male's crop is full of carrion. But he won't feed his offspring. He leaves that to his mate. The featherless chick would overheat in the midday sun, so its mother keeps it cool with an improvised parasol. The steppes and deserts of the Caspian are home to a surprisingly ravenous predator. Usually nocturnal, a hungry long-eared hedgehog will occasionally forage in late afternoon. At first glance, this little bundle of needles looks perfectly innocent. But appearances can be deceptive. One of the most voracious hunters in the desert. It's cute and vicious in equal measure. Long-eared hedgehogs are able to survive as long as 10 weeks without food and water. But when hungry, it will eat almost anything in its path. Few would be brave enough to prey on this prickly beast. Armed with a killer instinct and impregnable shield, it seems unstoppable. But the tables can quickly turn. Another of the Caspian's top predators, the Eurasian eagle owl, has excellent long-distance vision. Whilst many owls will only hunt at night, this species have eyes which allow them to hunt during the day. Long-eared hedgehogs make up to 14% of its diet. And this hedgehog is completely oblivious to the owl's presence. With fewer defenses, a great gerbil makes a softer target. The lucky hedgehog must wait until dark before continuing its ravenous rampage. Midsummer in the Karakum Desert, and it's fiercely hot. Among these rolling dunes, temperatures can exceed 50 degrees centigrade. Covering over 70% of Turkmenistan, little survives in this hostile landscape. But this burning fire pit isn't just the result of searing heat. Beneath the sand lies the fourth largest natural gas reserve on the planet. Nicknamed the Gates of Hell, this 70-meter crater is the result of a failed drilling operation in the 1970s. Fearing sulfur and poisonous gases would pollute the area, the drilling team decided to ignite the gas in an attempt to burn it off. "40 years later, and it's still alight, burning due to a lack of rain and scorching temperatures, here in the heart of the Karakum Desert. Elsewhere in the deserts of Turkmenistan, other strange craters provide a vivid reminder that 150 million years ago, this desolate landscape was a tropical paradise and cradle of life. Dinosaurs once roamed these ancient lands, and though the prehistoric beasts are long gone, their fossilized footprints remain. It's during the cooler nights that most of the desert's few residents come out to hunt. The coast looks clear for this spiky night ranger, now safe from aerial attack. The long-eared hedgehog has adapted well for the moonlit landscape. Ears like radar dishes allow it to detect approaching predators, as well as radiating heat to help keep it cool. It's a ferocious and tireless nocturnal hunter. But it may, at last, be about to meet its match. Highly toxic venom, sharp alertness, and an aggressive temperament make the saw-scaled viper a highly skilled predator, and one of the most dangerous snakes on Earth. Although relatively small compared to the hedgehog, one bite from this viper can still be fatal. It coils its body and rubs its scales together to make a sawing sound. As it becomes more agitated, the noise becomes faster and louder. But this is the sound of the snake's fear. One false move is all it takes. The viper has come too close. For now, this long-eared underdog remains undefeated champion of the desert. The Caspian region is a diverse wilderness where nothing can be taken for granted. In the face of many challenges, wildlife has found a refuge. And against all odds, the underdog thrives. The threat of winter now hangs in the air. And as the northern shallows of the Caspian freeze over, and the first winter snows begin to turn this wonderland white, the greatest challenges are yet to come.